Good morning, everybody. My name is Allison. I'm the chair of the Women's Initiative Committee for CSPA. And before we get started with our Inspire seminar today, I just want to take a moment. On behalf of the Women's Initiative Committee, I would like to take a moment to dedicate this Inspire seminar to Haley Precious. Haley was not only a friend of mine, but was a part of our skydiving family at several drop zones in BC. She traveled around the world, fulfilling her love for skydiving. Over her 7 years skydiving, she brought passion, kindness, and an energy that encompassed a sense of community by ensuring everyone felt welcome. She was an active member of Women's Initiatives Committee and an advocate for inclusion and support services in our sport and her career. Her presence on the WIC team will be heavily missed. I hope to carry forward the goals she had and the dreams of hers, cultivating awareness and change throughout skydiving. Her sweetness and warmth will always be cherished in our hearts. And Kanina, I'll now pass the seminar over to you. You might need to unmute yourself, Kanina.
Can we hear me now?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Thanks for that. Thanks for the feedback. And thanks, Allison, for introducing us in. And yes, rest in peace, Haley. For the people who are here, thank you so much for attending our 2024 Inspire virtual seminar, From Novice to Ace, Navigating the World of Competition. My name is Kanina Vanstone, and I'm an aspiring four-way FS competitor, CSPA's current president, member of the Women's Initiative Committee, and am honored to be your moderator today. I would like to start by taking this moment to acknowledge the land on which we all gather. CSPA honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. Further, CSPA respects and affirms the inherent and treaty rights of all Indigenous peoples across this land. Personally, I would also like to acknowledge the Treaty 1 territory I reside on in Manitoba and Treaty 5 territory of my band, Titasqueak First Nation, which is also in Manitoba. Please note all microphones will be muted during the seminar. If you have a question during the question period, please do raise your hand in the reactions tab. And after you have spoken, please mute your microphone again and unraise your hand. Alternatively, please feel free to add any questions or comments at any time in the chat box, and we will address them when ready. The Canadian Sport Parachuting Association Women's Initiative Committee has a vision to empower our community of skydivers and stakeholders in our sport. We brainstorm ideas. It was evident that there are amazing, talented, dedicated, and admired women throughout skydiving in Canada. And on that inspirational platform, having women share their experiences, their passion, and their dedication to mentoring others became the core mission of Inspire. We want to create a platform that provides an opportunity for all skydivers to acquire the knowledge, mentorship, and inspiration to excel in their personal journey in our sport. Moving on to our long-term athlete development generally long-term athlete development, the LTAD framework, is a framework for all aspects of our sport. Whether a participant is a competitor, recreational skydiver, coach, official, drop zone operator, or other skydiving supporter, LTAD will enhance and facilitate the growth and potential of each. CSPA has produced a 7-stage athlete development model, ADM, based on the Canadian Sport for Life program. These 7 stages are active start, flying fundamentals, learning to fly, train to train, train to compete, train to win, and active for life. Today, we want to focus on the flight plan stages 3 through 7. By exploring the skydiving journey of our guest speaker, Renee Point, we hope that you can walk away from today's seminar with a newfound understanding of competition, a realization that is not all about the international platform, rather how we challenge ourselves in our individual pathways to success. We hope that you take away the desire to set yourself, we hope that you take away, to take away from this event, the desire to set yourself a goal, design a plan to achieve that goal, and take pride in your accomplishments along the way. It gives me great pleasure to present our guest speaker, Renee Point. Hailing from Ontario, Renee is not a new face in the skydiving scene. With over 2,800 skydives and multiple coach and instructor ratings, Renee is a wealth of knowledge in various skydiving topics. She's here today, however, to inspire our audience with her drive for competition. With over a decade of competition experience and competition records and medals to prove it. Renee's passion started with a 4-way FS, of which she competed at multiple Canadian nationals and represented on the world stage in both 4-way FS female and 8-way FS. After many educational degrees and serving 28 years as a colonel in the military, her pursuit for excellence knows no bounds. Though she is currently not competing, she is actively working at her home drop zone, Parachute Ottawa, as a coach, free fall instructor, mentor, and even runs female skydiver development days. Renee, I want to thank you for being here. Friendly reminder, if anyone has any questions for Renee, feel free to type them in the chat at any point of this seminar. Welcome, Renee. Thank you
Thanks,
so much for
Kanina.
attending.
No problem. So I'm really humbled to be invited to speak today. And as you can see, the discussion today is really from novice to ace. So I want to share my story. And I wrote lots of lessons learned. So there you see me in 2001, my first jump course at STI. The parachute is way too big for me. I'm wearing the Protect, and this is where I finished at the end of my 8 years of international and national level competition. So it's been quite a journey, and I really want to focus on that journey today. So this slide deck is going to roll in the background as we speak, and if a picture comes up, we'll just talk about it. And I'm open to all questions. Yeah, so let's start.
Amazing. Thanks, Renee. Let's start off. The first few questions that I'm going to ask are specifically engaged to our flight plan stage 3, learn to fly. First question, how did you get started in skydiving?
Yeah, so like anybody else, some friends wanted to go skydiving from university. So I said, yeah, why not? Let's go. So off we went to STI. And we did a first jump course, and I did the instructor assisted deployment. And that was my first skydive. 2 years later, I went back, redid the course, and just fell in love. My first posting was to Ottawa, so obviously that's where I started, was Mile High parachuting. And it's a little Cessna drop zone. There was about 30 people there, and it did anything from crew to RW to sit to solo. And I was really fortunate to start at that drop zone. There was a great group of people, and they were really supportive in my journey throughout. So when I started, I took a couple years off, maintained enough currency just to continue jumping because I was being posted, deployed here and there. But it took a while. It took from 2001, I think, till about 2009 for me to start my journey to compete. And
Wow,
this is what you saw was the awakening moment. So I think my next question is, why did you start competing? And I'll just go into it. And it really was an awakening moment in a coach jump. So if anybody remembers Jeff Dean, one of my favorite mentors anyway, he put me through my first Coach One course. And I was small, I was light, I didn't have a lot of talent because most of my jumps were not RW. And he didn't mix words at the end. He's like, you're great on the ground, you're great instructing, but your flying skills will leave some to be desired. And for those of you who also know me, I'm stubborn. And I was like, I'm going to show you. And so that's how it started with CSPA camps.
Amazing, amazing. Can we revisit your first time again, just for a second? Were you scared? Let's get this out on the table. We're all asked that question, but what was your exact first experience?
So my first experience was leaving the plane, totally de-arched, going head over tea kettle and screaming the whole way. Yeah, landing and thinking, oh my God, I want to do it again.
And you did that IAD. Now, did your stomach also drop before that quiet tranquilness overran you?
Yeah, of course. Like you don't know what's going on. You have no you have no concept of what's going to happen, where you are, why it's happening. And it's funny because I did the course twice, obviously, because I took the 2 years and had to start at Mile High again. Um, and it was the same. The first jump was the same quality. De-arched, head over heels, or that's what it felt like. The
Well, at least
instructor's
you're
laughing at
consistent.
as I leave the plane. So when we talk about going from novice to champion, oh yeah, I went from really bad student to inter no,
I
okay
love it.
novice to putting a lot of work in. Yeah.
I love it. What was your most memorable skydive to date?
So to date, I think it has to be in Dubai. So it was the first World Championships. Like I said, I'm from Mile High, not a lot of exposure to international drop zones, and here we are driving up to the marina. We're walking around. We're surrounded by water. The plane takes off onto a pier, and you're like, "Oh, I hope this thing goes." Otherwise, we're in the
Wow.
ocean, and you're flying above the ocean. You're looking around at the palm, and you're like, they tell you to get out, and as you're getting out you look down and you're like, but it's all water. Like this is completely against all my instincts.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
you get up for your first test jump and you're not doing anything. You can't remember the skydive. You're missing grips. It doesn't really matter. You're just enjoying the experience. And yeah, we had to land on the palm, and I thought to myself, I didn't have a lot of jumps at this time, maybe 250, and I was like, man, what if I don't land on the land? Like I have to go beside a hotel, down around, land on the palm. I'd be the only competitor in the water. Here we go, represent Canada. Woohoo!
So intimidating.
But then we got to get into a jet boat and then drive back to the marina like James Bond with our parachutes over our shoulders. And yeah, I think it was the most memorable skydive because it was my first one out of Canada, and two, just the conditions were just amazing. And it was the first time it became real. Like I had worked
Mm,
hard and it brought us to this point.
yes, real. That's so resonates with me too. I hear you. Um, but to be clear, what made you want to compete for the first time?
Nothing. To be quite honest, I hate competing. If you ask any of my teammates, I'm a complete basket case on competition days. But I love the journey. I love training. I love the social aspect. I love setting a goal. I like meeting it. I love winning. I don't so much like losing. So it wasn't my goal to compete, to be quite honest, when I started. It was really to get better. And I thought to
Ah,
myself, after Jeff kind of brought me aside and pointed out my strengths and weaknesses, I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to stay in the sport, maybe I should invest some money and at least work on my basic skills. I'll have a lot of tools in my toolbox, and it'll just take me further as we go. Um, yeah, and then I registered in a CSPA tunnel camp with Michelle LeMay, and
ooh,
it was very
good
humbling.
teammate.
Yeah, getting into the tunnel for the first time, and I just loved it. Like I loved learning the different formations. I loved being able to fly them. I loved the challenge. And at the end, I looked at him and I said, "Do I have the potential to continue, and how do I continue?" And he said, "Well, he said, you do have the potential. Find a team, and you'll be good." And I thought to myself, "Oh, okay, it's that easy." I don't know where to start.
Wow.
Um, but lucky enough, it kind of fell into it. So Jen from STI was starting a team called Crimson Fox. That's what it ended up being. And they asked if I would join the team. And so I joined the team, and it went from there. Like I look back,
Yeah.
and time has just flown.
I freaking love it that you asked Michelle LeMay if you had what it takes. I think that's so key. Amazing. Kudos to you. That's amazing. And yeah, I think you went over how this sort of evolved over time. So from Crimson Fox to how did that sort of evolve from Crimson Fox?
Yes, I started with Crimson Fox. That team lasted. We won in 2011, and then eventually we got beat by by Fusion, which was my next team. But I went from Crimson Fox, a four-way team, then got picked up by Maximum Ride, an eight-way team. So joined them. And hi, Jake. um, and then, yeah, once the team starts rolling and you can find 4 people that are committed, engaged, and want to progress, it's pretty easy to go from there. And I
Oh,
would
that's
say
amazing.
my best advice for people who want to join a team, to learn, is seek out some of these camps that CSPA has, drop zones, offer different opportunities, and just communicate. Let people know. Let people know you're interested. Let people
Mm,
know you want maybe to form your own team. You want to join a team. Does anybody want to do it for fun? It doesn't have to start at the national level. It doesn't have to start with nationals. There's many, many other ways to start in training and
yeah.
then moving on to either fun or formal competitions.
Even circling back to, that moment of asking, outright asking, "Oh, is this something I can do?" into joining a team. What exactly, like, maybe I missed the bridge there. From what were the first steps to asking or being on Crimson Fox?
Yes, like I
Was it
said,
just an ask?
it was just an ask. I was just at the right
Perfect.
time at the right place, and I was looking. And I think that's the biggest thing, is I started looking for opportunities. So I asked Michelle. I asked him to let me know if there was something he knew about, and there was an opening on a team that was forming. And so he called me and asked me if
Mm.
I'd be interested and to get in contact with Jen. And
It
then,
sounds too simple.
but most of the time it is. I think we overcomplicate it, to be quite honest. Anybody can form a team. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a team that's already going. You don't have to look for an active team. You can form a team.
Mm.
You can start, find somebody to help you with your training plan. You don't need a formal coach right at the beginning either. I mean, lots of people will mentor, will talk to you through their experience, how to get started.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, even 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 if we move on to like additional stages, like stage 4, where it's train to train, like, how did you decide that the 4-way FS was your discipline to start with your competition journey?
Yeah. So for me, I love the speed, the aggressiveness of 4-way FS. And I like the challenge of learning the blocks and the randoms. So I went between 4-way to 8-way because the skills are quite similar, but the discipline is quite different actually when you get into the application of the skills and what you need to be successful in those 2 disciplines. Um, I wanted a team. I didn't want to go through the process alone. I know there's a lot of disciplines which are individual disciplines, which make it easier when it comes to setting up a training plan
Yeah.
and committing. But for me, I really wanted a team. I needed the support. I wanted the social aspect. I
Mm.
wanted to go through a journey with teammates. So for me, it was a no-brainer. 4 people, and they happen to be women.
That's
And yeah, like I was
unique.
lucky. Yeah, yeah, I was.
Even coming back, like, was that the only discipline you had sort of explored at that time?
Yeah, so we were lucky at Mile High. We had a lot of Skyhawks. We had the plaid jackets that did a lot of crew. So my first 50 jumps or so were crew jumps. But I couldn't find anybody who'd be willing to do crew with me on a competitive basis. I don't know, maybe
Got
I
it.
scared people a little too much under canopy. I did get into one wrap, so
Okay.
but
No, yeah.
yeah, so wingsuiting is amazing. I think it's thrilling, but by that point, I already had too many commitments. But yeah, FS was pretty much the first discipline I chose.
So it sounds like accessibility was key, as well as actually asking to get you started. Would you sort of say that that's a little? It's very concise, mind you, but would you say that that's the main? Those are the main keys.
Yes, I would say so. One, you generally tend to follow a sport you're exposed to or a discipline you're exposed to. So if you have a lot of wingsuiters on the drop zone, then you can be exposed to that. If you have RW specialists on the drop zone, then you can tap into that. And it's easy and there's not a lot of costs. People that are interested in CP, what type of opportunities are close to you? Do you have a tunnel? Those type of things. Those also really facilitate your choice of discipline. Um, So to me, I had done some belly. I had like the team was nearby. It was in Toronto, so it was accessible. We had the tunnel. We had coaches at hand. Like our first coach was Ben LeMay, little Ben at
Yes,
the time.
little Ben.
Little Ben. And so accessibility was definitely a factor when it came to choosing a discipline and pursuing it.
Mm. And in addition to all of that, what kind of commitment did it require from you? How did you explore commitment to the team, to competition? Yeah, can you expand on that?
Yeah, commitment's a good word because being on any team requires some sacrifices. So you're giving up some stuff to get other stuff. Um, what you look for is a committed group of people, to be quite honest. People who will commit the time and the resources and have the right personalities in order to make the project work because it is a project when you get onto any kind of team for any kind of event. Uh, there is training that's required, there's time that's required, there are finances that are required, and all those things have to be respected. And so the commitment aspect is usually talked about up front when you develop a training plan and you decide, hey, what are we committing to? And so a lot of the teams, what we look at is, hey, we want to commit to the next nationals, and in the next international competition, we'll stop there. Or maybe as a team, you want to commit to the virtual national championships. You know what I mean? So you decide
Mm.
what event you want to prepare for and what you're ready to put in. And then you require everybody from that team to be in agreement with what your goals are, how much you're going to dedicate, um, and what commitment level you're seeking from each other. And when you're not totally in agreement or everybody doesn't buy in, the team doesn't get there usually at the end of the project.
That's very, very helpful. Thank you. Um, Now, yes, time, thinking about each other's commitments. Let's talk a little bit more about budgets and finances, because that's a huge component that could potentially direct where we go and our level of commitment. How
Yeah.
did your teams, multiple there, each one sort of arrange your financial commitments and budgeting? And can you set us up a little bit more around that area?
Yeah, like if you look at the pictures that you're seeing right now, you see we're all wearing matching brakes. We all have the same suits. We all have black helmets. You know, that was part of the team finances, but it's not required. It's not necessary, and that's something that we need to take into account. Skydiving is expensive, and committing to a team and jumping is costly. So first, like I said, you need to identify the event. Then you need to identify what you want to do in terms of training. And you really need to consider certain things because people underestimate how much it'll cost. So you need to think about your slots. So you've got 4 slots that you have to pay for, or 8 slots, and then you've got the cameraman slot you have to consider. You have to consider any equipment you need for your training. You have to consider pack jobs. You need to consider your coach. You need to consider travel. You need to consider food, and if there's any lodgings. So for a competition year, for me, when I was competing with Fusion, it was about $15,000. And that seems like a lot. People would be like, there's no way. There's no way I can commit. We fundraised. We did everything we could. We went from calendars to t-shirts to bowling nights to
And sorry,
raffles.
this is like fundraising on a national level, on a local level.
Both. So most of it done on a local level, some done on a national level. Um, but what I would say is going back to that, it doesn't have to be a $15,000 investment. It can be less expensive. You decide on a number of jumps you want, just be realistic about actually what your budget's going to be. So if you think about it, if you want to do the Canadian National Virtual Championships, which is a lower cost event, you talk to your drop zone, and one, you find out whether or not they can support you. So do they have the lift capacity? Do they have the packer capacity? Can they support you? And sometimes they will give you a preferred rate. So I've seen some of the drop zones advertised, Parachute Ottawa being one of them, that they'll give a preferred rate to teams that are training. And that's really advantageous. You can also ask we've been sponsored by different drop zones also who've given us a discount, and that really helps. But if you're
That's
going to buy
amazing.
a block of jumps of 100 jumps in a year and you want to commit 50 of them in training, like it's money you probably would have spent anyway. And it's
Mm,
money you're spending towards learning. It's money you're spending towards good quality jumps. So I think the investment, to be quite honest, for any type of event is worth it. Like when you look at your jumps you're going to do in a year and you can structure them and you get something out of it, whether it be a new skill set, whether it be a new set of teammates, whether it be a better understanding of the rules, of the resources that are out there, of yourself, because that's also a big evolution in this journey from novice to champion. I think it's worth it. And I have to say that I always say I don't like competing, but I really like the aspect of personal growth that comes through competition.
mm, I love this. I love this. A little bit more about finances in terms of, did one person take care of the financials, or did you all just come together and create like a spreadsheet and then indicated who's going to take care of what? How did you sort of arrange that?
Yeah, so you can do it many different ways. Some of it was we budgeted, and so we knew where the costs were going, and everybody had to put in a certain amount of money. I think in Crimson Fox, we had a bank account where we did monthly deposits. So we put monthly deposits to cover up the events or the training that was going to come up. Maximum Ride, we contributed as we went. So we paid our portion of the slots or of the coaching, and we just paid as we went. And then Fusion, I believe we paid as we went. So Crimson Fox, we had a spreadsheet because we were keeping track of the money because it was being centralized. But in the other teams, it was pay as you go, and one person was kind of tagged to organize the payment for that specific event. So sometimes I'd be responsible to pay for the coach. So I'd have to go and collect for the coaching fees. Somebody else would be, and then other people would pay directly to the drop zone for their slots. And that's how, and then we individually pay for packers. So you can
Amazing.
do it many different ways. You can do it upfront, you can do a monthly, and you can do as you go. And
I
it's
love
completely
this.
up to what the team can do. And you have to be quite honest. I mean, finances are something that people sometimes don't like to talk about. But if you're not upfront, and it's happened to me, I actually quit an 8-week team because of it, because I wasn't completely comfortable with the project, and I didn't
Mm,
identify it at the beginning, and it caused a little bit of drama mid-season. So yeah, talk about it. You all have to be in agreement about how much you want to invest and what you're capable and comfortable to put forward to your training. And like I said, I consider it an investment. It's an investment in myself. In terms of me as a person, it's an investment in my sport, and it's also part of my active lifestyle.
mm, I love it. Thank you so much. That was some quality information right there. Thank you so much. Um, how about mentors and coaches? Like you mentioned, you started off sort of doing some flying with Michelle LeMay, and then in there was some tunnel with Ben. Yeah, how did you choose mentors, coaches along your competition life, or like gaining competition?
Yeah, so we started local at the beginning, to be quite honest. We started with who was available, who we knew, who we were comfortable with, and who was local. And when you're starting with a team, you kind of have to be honest with what your level is and what you need as a coach. So in the picture, you'll see Nicholas Hemlin from Arizona Airspeed. You don't need that level of coach right at the beginning. You can get them, but it's expensive. And they'll come to you. They'll be more than happy to do it. But you need to figure out what you need in terms of coaching. What level are you at? Who can fill that for you? Is it a formal coach? Is it somebody that's just going to look at some videos for you and give you some feedback? Is it somebody that's going to set up a training plan with you? And then choose a coach who fits what you have as an objective for the team. and who fits with the personality of the team. That's really important also. Ben was great for when we were starting off in Crimson Fox. He had the time. He was available to us when we needed it, and the level of feedback we needed from him was what he was capable of giving at that point in his coaching career. When we moved on to 8-way, there wasn't a lot of people with experience in Canada that we could get as an 8-way coach. So we went out to the States, and they're not hard to find. And the coaches are available, they're there. And they will either say, yeah, I can take on a team, I can help you guys out, this is what I have to offer, and this is the cost, or they'll tell you they can't. And so what I would say is when you're looking for a coach, look for somebody who has the experience to be able to help you out, look for somebody who has the availability, consider the cost, and consider what you want from them. You don't need a coach on site all the time. Sometimes we would send videos and then they'd be able to debrief them and send them back to us. But my mentors, honestly, were some of my coaches and some of my teammates, to be quite honest. Like when you spend so much time in a team and you get to know each other, you start to really see each other's strengths and look up at it. And Marie-Eve Dallaire is somebody who I think of as one of my mentors, and I still call her for advice. She formed Fusion from the start. And yeah, she's just an incredible tool and an asset. So look around. There's tons of people available. There's tons of people that are willing to help. Most of the people that are competing now or have competed know how challenging it is, know how difficult it is, and are more than willing to help out because we've been given so much by the community ourselves.
Oh, freaking love it. When you do transition from coach to coach, or when you have, I'm sure you've noticed this, and I've noticed this at a very small level. Each coach may have their own opinions or additions to add. So for like a certain block may be coached in one certain way by one coach, and the same block will be coached a different way from the other coach. How did you integrate, or how did you integrate that, and how did you handle that? Because did you like say, hey, wait a second, this person said this and we should stick with this, or yeah, how did you handle those situations?
You have to be adaptable because everybody has a different style and everybody has a different way of looking at things, and everybody has a different experience in terms of what they grew up with or what their background is. What I would say is be open with the coach. Be like, hey, this is how we're doing it. This is how somebody told us to do it. Look at what they're asking or what they're telling you to do. Maybe it's a different option. Maybe they're telling it, maybe they're giving you that hint because that's where you need to be at that level, and the other technique was a little bit more advanced and maybe wasn't working for you. So just be open to it, and then communicate. Say, hey, this is working for us. This is how we were taught. We can try this one, but I think we'll retain this one. And that's sometimes what we did. Sometimes we also asked our coaches to talk to each other. So if we knew we were doing a handoff from one coach to another, we were like, hey, like say if I was coaching and then Richard Bisson took over, a conversation between the two of us of how the team is progressing or how the athletes are learning is very valuable. And so people will be more than willing to do that. And so I would say be open to advice, be open to different ways of doing things, but know that, know what you need from your coach and don't be afraid to ask for it.
So far, I'm seeing a very key components here. Basically, be true with yourself, know what you want, make it known what you want, talk about it, and be coachable. Those are my 5 takeaways so far.
Yeah.
Anything I'm missing so far?
No, and coachable from a coach standpoint is really important. Sometimes I've not been as coachable as I could have been.
But you recognized it.
Yeah, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I need to calm down. And I just need or we'll have some teammates who will be, the coach will say stuff, and there's one person I'm thinking of in particular, and they're like, but, but, and we're like, we're wasting time here. He doesn't care about our excuses. Like, just shut up. Like, just listen.
Oh, so funny.
Stop offering the butts. So you're killing us here. Like you wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. So no matter how many feelings are hurt or why
Yeah.
you feel you need to present the information as to why you did that,
Yeah.
um, like just suck it up, be accountable. Yeah, I made a mistake or whatever. Somebody else did that and it affected me, but let's move on. We're a
Yeah.
team. We have to work
Oh,
together.
I love it. I love it. Well, and that kind of brings us to like any potential questions to stage 5, train to compete. Like that leads us right into like how did you actually handle those conflicts and or differences when they did arise?
Yeah, so you have to realize that no matter what group you put together, you're putting a bunch of different individuals with different needs, desires, ways to learn together. Um, and so, one of the things I've talked about in terms of my evolution as a person is tolerance and acceptance of others.
Mm,
And I've heard to I've had to learn that, and it's challenging to be quite honest. But you have to remember that you're all here for the same goal, the same reason. And so when you get into a conflict or challenging moments, you have to kind of back away a little bit and take some of the emotions out of it and figure out what's going on and why. And maybe take a little bit of the ego out and how would I say this? Just try to be a better person and just say, hey,
mm,
like maybe it's me,
yeah. Or
you
maybe
know.
even just take a moment to step away and sleep on it or whatever.
I remember Crimson Fox, Andrea Greening will attest to this. Martin LeMay actually pulled us all out of the drop zone and made us sit in a room, and we weren't
Mhm.
allowed to leave the room until we had sorted out our conflict.
Wow. I'm
Um,
glad that worked for you. I'm
yeah, and
assuming that worked for you.
it was a little bit embarrassing to be quite honest, but we did. We did.
Humbling.
Yeah, we had an underlying conflict, and nobody wanted to talk about it. Everybody just wanted to avoid it, and but it needed to be aired. And I've
Yeah.
had other coaches do that on teams where we say this, there's tension, there's something going on. Let's get to the root of this because we can't continue
Mm,
if we don't resolve this conflict. And most of it is communication. And most of it is sometimes a misunderstanding or not being able to communicate what you need, what is going on at the time. And that's what I found very useful with a mentor or a coach is somebody independent and somebody who can see from an outside point of view what's going on and call you on it and hold you accountable and help you work through that.
mm, that's so
There's
helpful.
no use of avoiding the conflict. It's not going away for the most part. So it's like any other team. It's like being at work. You need to find a way to talk through it.
Love it. Love it. Um, moving away a little bit from actual team dynamics, CSPA has Canadian competition rules that mostly mirror the international rules. Are these found in the PIMS, the Parachute Information Manual, section 4B? Um, how did you get to know and understand all of the rules?
By trial and error. Through busts, most of it.
I love the candidness of this.
When we're scratching our heads, and we're like, no, but we got that point. I don't understand. And you're
Oh my
sitting there, and all
gosh.
you see is red flash across the screen and the live judging. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, I don't understand what happened. And the coach is like, well, you couldn't see the hand because you caught the leg from underneath, or it was a non-stationary grip, or you touched the bum instead of touching the leg, or you didn't present your number, or there's so many rules, so many rules.
I love it.
You
I
know,
love it.
like
I love it.
usually you know most of them, but there's some like, uh, what do you do if there's a tie after a jump off? Like all of a sudden you're like, I don't know. What do we do?
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to figure it out as you go. But I would say is the PIMs are great. They're simple. They're simple to read. I was talking to a team last year and they're like, the aircraft's going too fast. Like I get out as an outside center and I can't hold on. Like the pilot's flying too fast. And I'm like, well, there is an acceptable airspeed. Go have a look at the PIM. It'll tell you what it is. And then ask the aircraft to use that airspeed or ask the pilot to use that airspeed. And the pilot was using that airspeed. It's just hard to hold on as an OC sometimes on the caravan. Like, suck it up, buttercup.
More push-ups.
Yeah, but the information's available, to be quite honest. And if you're starting off as a new team or in competition, like brand new, read the PIM. It'll
Mm,
save you a lot of heartache. It is fairly clear, concise, and then if you have any questions, ask somebody who's used to competing. And sometimes we still don't know them all. Sometimes we get busted by the judges, and we're like, "Oh, the injustice!" And then it's usually because we broke a rule.
yeah, yeah. Have you, during a competition, what was like, we talked a lot about the team dynamics and agreements of who takes care of what for training at the competition level at, let's just say, nationals. How did the team how did you arrange yourselves at that point? Because usually there's a lead who would talk to the judges at that point. How did you decide that?
Yeah, so you appoint a team captain. Usually nobody wants to be the team captain. So somebody gets voluntold and they have to go to the meetings to find out what the rules are. No, honestly, we generally appoint somebody or somebody volunteers as the point of contact between the delegation and the meet director, or well, CSPA does our delegation, but anyway, somebody who goes to all the meetings, somebody who's the point of contact for the team if there's a problem, and then you also agree on rules because there's behavior rules. I just want to show this picture because we talked about money. I think that's the
Mhm.
only time we ever won money in a competition. So if anybody thinks they're going to enter competition at the international level because they're going to make money, that's a falsity. There is not much money to be made. I think that was $250 on the most improved team out of the Shamrock Showdown. So yeah.
All right,
But
congrats.
thanks. Going back to agreements at competitions, like one of the things that's really important to talk through is behaviors, expected behaviors. Like, where are you going to be during the competition? Where are you guys going to hang out? What is acceptable between jumps in terms of behavior? Um, at one skydiving competition, there was a bouncy castle. And guess who was in the bouncy castle? Guess who
You?
got pulled out of the bouncy castle by the
You.
coach, right? Yeah, of course. He's like, you guys trained all year. You spent so much money to get here, and now you're gonna break your ankle in the bouncy castle. And I was like, okay.
Valid.
But yeah, to be quite honest, like you have to kind of agree to whether you're going to go out the night before, where you're going to stay, how are you going to feed, when can you leave the team, because somebody needs to go for a pee at some point, but you need to tell somebody where you are so they don't have to look for you. So
Mm,
you have that agreement, to be quite honest, before the event starts. And these are not things that anybody tells you. These are the things you figure out through conflict. um,
wow.
but it is quite useful. So you just have a set of rules for yourselves, and then you want to represent yourselves as professionally as you can, and you want to do as best as you can. You've trained, whether you put 50 jumps in or whether you put 150 jumps in, you trained hard. And so, and you have to depend on your teammates because it is a team sport. So you want to make sure that you can do the best that you can at that meet.
Love it. You have competed for years on all female teams. How did that compare to your journey on the Open 818?
It's an interesting question. And it's an interesting question because people are different. So sometimes it's not based on your biological sex as to how you're going to act or respond or what your needs are. Um, I found the four-way team more intimate. There's only
Mm.
five of us. Four of us were girls. One was a guy, Martin Cosgare, who, God bless his soul, put up with us for years and years and years, and was an integral part of the team. I found the women, one, I had more in common, obviously, with them. So there was a lot of unspoken understandings. I found the communication to be a lot more open and a lot more delicate. And
Mm.
I say that carefully, but in French, we'd say je me sens que. So I feel that. So instead of saying, hey, you're pulling my leg when we're trying to turn that 12, and like, stop doing that. And then it prompts somebody being defensive. You're like, hey, I feel that there's tension. when I'm trying to turn to 12, like what's going on? So we've learned that different style of communication. So I think we were more sensitive to how each other felt when we were either being debriefed, critiqued, when we needed something from a teammate. So that we learned with time, and we got good at managing emotions, and emotions became just part of the journey. If somebody was having a stressful moment and there was tears, it was no big deal. It was like, okay, she needs a moment, no issue. Often somebody would cry in the plane on jump number 12 of the day, and they're just tired, and they're just like, okay, need a
Yeah.
moment. You put a hand on the leg for support, and you just let them know that you are there for them. And then a couple minutes later, things would be fine, and the team would carry on. So I found delicate communication. I found the support from the women was amazing. I trusted them. I knew they were there for me if I needed them. And I don't know, I just found them to be uber passionate. That's not to talk in a negative way about my male counterparts on my 8-way team. It was just very different. It was more businesslike in terms of relationship. It was also a bigger group, so a little bit more people to consider. But I just found a special bond with the girls, and they truly became my lifelong teammates and friends. So I thought it was
Love
pretty
it.
special. Like, you saw a picture at the beginning of the slideshow. It was my first ever 4-way female jump, and the pilot was a female. And it was, what, we could scramble in the drop zone. I was super proud. We were like so many girls to be able to do a jump together. We do POW events at Parachute Ottawa, and it's nice to be with a group of people who understand you, understand what you're going through, and are supportive. And I think that's getting a lot better in the support. And I think people are coming out and saying, hey, because of my size, this is what happens to me, and this is how I compensate for it. Or, the guys are making fun of me because I can't land, and it's a stereotypical thing for girls. And you're like, no, like, let's work through this. Girls understand that confidence is important, and it needs to be built, and it needs to be, I would say, cherished, because with
Yes.
confidence you'll perform better. So I think we're really good at being able to recognize that and support each other through that. So I've had some wonderful experiences with both sexes, but it was just different with the ladies, and I really appreciated my experience with them.
Wow. I really appreciate that response. That was fantastic. Moving on more to a train to win approach, flight using the flight plan stage 6. Many people will never get to experience representing Canada on the world stage. How would you describe the feeling?
It's humbling. From lining up with the delegations and walking with your delegation is humbling. You're like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be here. Like, when you do, but you feel like it's a lot. You're super proud to be representing Canada. We're not a professional team. We don't get full sponsorship. You're competing against professional teams. So when you medal at the international level, you're just so proud. You're proud of where you've come from, who you've represented, who you are representing, all those other skydivers that are working hard and training towards this type of event. And it's just, I don't know, like, I'm sometimes overwhelmed by it all, to be quite honest. If people are like, you're a national level athlete, I'm like, I'm
Just Renee.
just me, like, I'm just me, and I focused on something, and I got these opportunities to be able to do it. But to be able to see the same people every year or every couple of years at international events, to see your friends, to learn from them, and to be able to kind of stand there and represent your country is, I don't know, it's just, I think I cried. I did cry at the Dubai Air Games. We were standing there, and I remember standing on the stage, and it was our first medal at the international competition level. And I was looking down, and I was looking at the prince, and I was like, yeah, Canada. We made it. Finally made it on
Good.
the podium. You know, little Canada, only skydiving season of like 4 months, 5 months.
If that.
Nobody paid for us. We paid our whole way to get here. So I don't know, it's just you work hard, and the people that work hard deserve it, and they should be proud to be there. And we certainly were, but I'd say it's humbling.
Thanks. Did something almost make you quit competing? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so two things. One was the finances. I wasn't very honest with
Mm.
finances. I was doing both the 8-way team and the 4-way team, and it became a little bit too much. And I started to get a little bit nervous about finances, and I didn't really. It just led me to a panic, and I quit. It wasn't good for the team. It wasn't good for me. And I certainly wouldn't recommend anybody to do that. And that's why I say you need to really be upfront about the commitments that you can and cannot make. I mean, if you've got a group of people and one person can only afford 50 jumps, but that's the group you want to jump with, like it's 50 jumps and that's it. Like you really need to respect that. And we always kind of put pressure on each other. Oh no, let's do another one. Let's do another weekend. And we did that in Fusion, and it put a lot of stress on us to do that. So I would say lay out your commitments and then respect them. And the next thing I would say was competition. I have a really hard time watching a live screen of my jump when everybody else is watching it. And then if you make a mistake, you hear the oh through the crowd. Or if you have a brain
Really
lock and you're watching yourself on the screen and you're watching yourself in a brain lock and everybody else is watching you also, and you're just mortified. You're just like,
Cringe.
you're like, I didn't know. You know, you're in the skydive going, oh shit, like a goldfish. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And the girls are really good. They're generally point you in the direction, like, but everybody watches. And so skydiving is an interesting sport, especially in 4-way, because the other teams don't influence your result. They have, it's not like a hockey game. You're not passing the puck. They're not stealing the puck away from you. They're doing nothing. You're leaving the plane on your own time. You're skydiving. You're opening a certain altitude. You're turning your video in. It's all you. You can't blame it on anybody else. But the way that the competition goes, and for me, the stresses of competition, I didn't know if they were worth it because it was an emotional roller coaster for me. But then after the competition, you give it a couple of weeks and you think about it. And I enjoy the other aspects of training so much that I'll deal with the competition. But it's really,
I love it.
and you know, when we talk about competing, like I said, it doesn't have to be national level. It can be nationals. It can be a friendly, fun competition. It's just fun to spend time with friends and learn new things. And you can do it without a lot of stress. So
Yeah.
I think that's important to know. Like we always talk about competing, and we talk about, I think nationals. It's not that at all.
Yeah.
It can be anything. It can be anywhere. It can be anyone. It's just a matter of people getting together and committing themselves to doing their best to achieve a goal.
I love it. I love it. Even during your entire competition experience, what maintained the desire to compete over the years? Like you obviously had to make a decision each time each new season, each new competition, each new team. What maintained that desire?
For me, I think it was getting better. It was learning, and it was setting a goal and being able to achieve it. So whether it was being a better individual flyer, changing positions in the team, it was being able to have a smart goal and then achieve it, because it makes you feel proud no matter where you end up on the podium or what you're aiming for. If you can achieve that smart goal, like for me, it was great. And one of my strengths as a person is lifelong learning and curiosity, and competing honestly filled those two, like worked hand in hand with those two strengths. So that's why I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the social aspect of it, because the reason I put all these pictures up is you'll notice a lot of them are not just skydiving. A lot of them are other things, whether it's like this one, a night after nationals in Westlock, you know, and we're celebrating, we're having fun. You know, there's the whole social aspect, and you'll see this picture, you know, you see everybody in the background, like you get to know those people and they help you, and you just get positive feedback from them, positive vibes, and it's about the experience, it's about the journey, and that journey is just wonderful. So I would
Yeah.
say what keeps me competing, learning, and the people, the social aspect of it.
Mm, love it. Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah.
You mentioned your time on that, even coming back to being on the podium at the international level and looking down, and yes, this is Canada. Do you suppose that that was one of the most rewarding things? And if it wasn't, what was your most rewarding thing that you took from your time of competing?
Podiums are nice.
Yeah, they are.
Medals are nice. um, but I think honestly is my personal growth.
Mm,
And I still have a lot of work to do. I'm an imperfect person. But I think I've grown a lot from my young self. And I think that's what I take away, that the friendships, and yeah, a couple of medals that are, I don't know, in a drawer somewhere now. But I don't
love
know.
it.
Yeah, I'm proud of myself and my teammates of where we came from and what we achieved and how we represented ourselves and our sport. And I'll always have that.
Mm, yes, yes, you will. It sounds like a lot. Your response just then seemed to covered a lot of our flight plan stage 7 active for life. But let me ask them again to make sure that they do align with what my understanding is. What life skills or sport skills competition teach you?
Uh, yeah. Emotional regulation. So
Mm, mm,
stress,
mm,
control, stress or arousal control. Going
mm,
into round one on every competition is a nightmare as you're sitting in the plane and your heart's beating 100 miles an hour and you just want to set a good round one. Just being able to, you know, to deal with those emotions. And honestly, the way I dealt with them is just, you know, I looked around and I looked at the girls and I looked at every one of them and I knew every one of them would do their job and do what they needed to do. And we did the training and we were ready. And, you know,
mm, mhm,
relaxation techniques through breathing exercises, through positive thoughts. That was also something that was taught through competition. We spent a lot of time talking about it with coach. Um, and we always think that coaching is all, how do you do a random? How do you do a block? How do you turn it faster? But it's not all of that. Sometimes it's, you know, how do you respond to a bad jump? How do you keep or maintain a stable level of emotions throughout? How do you deal with a good jump? In Dubai, we got our record for the longest sequence, and we were on the moon as we should have been, but we totally blew the next jump because we were too excited. Um, and you learn to take it and to stop making your competitions like an emotional roller coaster and try to go a little bit more stable. And those skills have just carried me through life, to be quite honest.
mm,
Visualization. Ben LeMay just wrote an article for Skydive Mag on visualization, and it's a key component of competition, and it's a key component in life, to be quite honest. So brought that through interpersonal skills. Like I said, I touched on a couple times. That has come through maintaining a healthy lifestyle. We had a 5 pound weight limit on
mm,
Fusion.
mhm,
Uh, and it's not something we usually talk about a lot, but fall rate has a big effect, obviously, in our discipline. So you had a 5 pound weight limit. If you were heavier than 5 pounds and it was starting to affect the fall rate, the girls would politely tell you to go to the gym for good reason, but it also kept
mhm,
you fit. And I think I've carried that through. And again, just the desire to learn. Like there's still opportunities to compete. There's coaching that can be done. Like it's still part of my life, and I think it will remain part of my life. So there's a lot that I gained through competition that are life skills, and it's not the flying.
mm,
That's nice, but it really isn't the flying. It's how to be a better person, how to be a better teammate,
mhm,
and yeah, how to be a better member of your community.
A little more general type question, which could lead us to any which way, but where has this experience taken you?
Um, so it's opened a lot of doors in the sport. So that's important to know. Once you start training to compete or competing, people get to see you. They get to see your flying ability. They get to see your skill. They get to see you as a person, and then you doors open with respect to records, with respect to other training opportunities, with respect to coaching, with respect to speaking. Uh, it really opens a lot of doors, which I found to be nice. I also now like coaching quite a bit. And like I said, I like to give back what has been given to me. And I like encouraging other people that are just trying. All you have to do is try,
Mm.
you know? And
Mhm.
one of the sorry, I'm looking at Heather right now because one of the somebody approached me for another team, and I thought to myself, only if Heather Porteous can be on it.
You might have some competition there. Just saying. Heather.
um, yeah, but yeah, I forgot what the question was. But what I would
Yeah,
say
that's
is,
okay. Where's this taken you?
where is this taking me? To the next level, I guess. To be quite honest, it's
Mm.
hard after you've done good, high level quality jumps to continue in the sport. Because
Mm.
you keep seeking that. You look all over the place for it. That's all you want. But um, it's not obviously what you can have every day. So then you start looking at other things. Do I try another discipline? Do I try
Yes.
coaching? Do I try working in the sport? And if you look at my team, Stephanie is still doing big ways. She's done some records. Val is still competing with Catastrophe.
Mm.
Marie-Ève has gone on to triathlons, and Jenny is on a tunnel team. Like,
Mm.
yeah, it just opens all kinds of different aspects. I don't know. I see myself in the sport for a bit longer, but yeah, I keep needing to find different things to challenge myself. Um, so where do I go from here? I don't know. Where I am,
Any new goals that you've now set for yourself?
I'm still a bit lost, to be quite
I
honest.
love the honesty.
Um, so I've started free flying in the tunnel. So maybe one of the
Ooh,
goals will be
new
to do a little bit of
discipline.
free flying. Yeah. um, I'd love to do some more crew, but yeah, I don't know. It's still work in progress.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
I think there's lots of people in other disciplines who could easily show you too.
Yeah.
And I think you know how to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And
Amazing.
people just need to understand that we're approachable.
Mm.
People that are competing in all kinds of different disciplines are approachable. We've all come from the same place. We were all novices once. We've all had to find our way through. And do not hesitate to ask.
Love it.
Really, like it's our pleasure to be able to explain things and maybe help as much as we can, um, and share the information because, like I said, other people have helped me so much. Like I feel like I owe the community some help. So yeah, if you're interested,
Wow.
ask.
Yeah. Um, that is yeah. Thank you for answering all of my questions, all of WIC questions. I feel like this was more of a Renee and Kanina episode here because I took everything from that. I've got all my notes. So I shouldn't be so selfish anymore. And I should open the questions to the floor where we welcome your questions. Everybody who's here in attendance today, if you do have one, please add your question to the chat area in the Zoom screen or use the raise hand icon in the reactions button area of your Zoom application. And Allison and I will help to facilitate the questions. Do we have any questions? Oh, I do see lots of chat items, but I'm just going to check in here with Allison. Do we have anything?
I
The
am
other thing
not
I would
seeing
Yeah,
specific questions, but yeah, my view is a little bit tough, but Kanina, so if
Yeah,
you
no,
happen
that's
to see
fine.
them there, that would be great. Oh, I think Shannon from Parachute Ottawa has a question.
go ahead, Shannon. Are you writing or are you?
Yeah, let me double check on the.
We have a couple questions in the chat, so, and I apologize because my screen is a little bit different than yours. So, Kanina, if you're able to open up your chat and go
Yeah,
through those, that'd be
let
great.
me go. All right, and
We
sorry if
had
I'm
from
not looking at
Shannon
the
in the
screen here. Oh, we
maybe.
have a Shannon from Parachute Ottawa. Renee, how did you get to be so awesome? We appreciate you at Parachute Ottawa, and thank you, Parachute Ottawa, for housing this amazing being. How did you become so awesome, Renee?
With lots of help. No, I'm serious. But like people like Shannon and Jake at Parachute Ottawa, people like Mario and Martin at Voltige, people like Mario and Manon at Parachute Montreal, all these drop zones have helped us throughout our journeys. And I mean, to see active drop zones and active owners who are interested in supporting athletes and supporting people that are trying to learn is so helpful. And it is through them and talking to them and benefiting through their efforts and their experience is really good. I I've nothing but great things to say about the places I've jumped and the services and the support they've given us. So thanks to them for helping us learn. Um, and it's something as simple as hosting a three-way competition, a two-way competition, a four-way competition, hosting a different event in a different discipline. It provides great opportunities for us to learn and work through those
Yes.
stages of the LTAD.
Kudos to any supporting drop zone member. Amazing. Thank you. Audrey has a question. Audrey, did you wish to say this out loud, or do you want me just to read it off and it's okay if I don't hear from you in a minute, 30 seconds, and I'll just ask your question?
We might have to give them permissions to unmute Kanina if she's
Okay.
to ask the question herself.
Just checking in. I'm going to ask to unmute. Audrey, would you wish to ask your question?
Hi, everyone. Maybe
Hi.
you see me. I'm not sure about it.
Oh,
Hello.
yeah, there you are.
Hello. I had a question for you. I was curious to know if there was any point where you really thought about quitting everything because you were, I don't know, fed up about competing, about your partners, about whatever. And if yes, what made you change your mind, actually?
Yes, it's a good question. So I would say after every world event, everybody wants to quit.
Okay.
Or after every nationals. And I say that because you're so tired. You're tired from all the time you had to invest, you have no more money left. You've put off all kinds of other things to make the sacrifices to be able to compete. And everybody knows that whether you've gone nationals or international, like it's a lot of time and money and you make a lot of sacrifices. So what I would say is after every event, there's a bit of a fatigue that comes in and a bit of a down, and you've got to give it some time. And you have to look at the experience as a whole. So after the different events, I was like, oh man, I don't think I can do this for another year, another 2 years. I just spent enough to buy a car, like I could be doing so much more with my life and my money. But then, sometimes I take a pause and the team doesn't talk for a couple of weeks afterwards. We do not. We don't meet. We don't talk about the competition. We don't talk about next steps because we need time to kind of reflect on where we are and what we need. And then usually just given the time and then reflections on, some of the good stuff that's happened, it's enough to recharge you and get you going. But it's stressful and it's demanding and it takes a lot of time and energy. And but I think you have to celebrate all the positive little moments and the positive steps and like it's easy to say, oh, this is bad, or this is hard, or this is this. But if I look back and I'm like, hey, like I can turn with my knees now, or, like I had a great time last weekend, it was good, or, I learned this about myself, or I learned that about the competition. Like if you start focusing on the positives, that's important, especially when you have a hard camp. So if you put out a training day and your training day is not going well, or your training camp is not going well, that is difficult. And then so you got to kind of stop, reflect, what's not going well, why, is it worth it? What do I need to do to adjust? And then most of the time there's a solution. The last thing is sometimes when you're having a conflict with your teammates, or there's one person who's just so different from you that it's hard to kind of reach or get along with, you really have to push yourself to compete. And like I said, the only thing that saves me from going down a rabbit hole sometimes of despair is the looking at the overall of what I've gained. And when you reflect, I'm sure, Audrey, when you look back at your pictures, your skydiving pictures, your pictures of competitions and nationals, or some of your friends, you remember all those good moments. And yeah, it gives you the inspiration to continue. But great question. It's not all sunshines and roses. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Audrey. Thanks for your response, Renee.
And Kanina, I
Yes.
was just gonna quickly say before I know Mary has a question as well. I just wanted to address Mark, who is on here. He had kind of mentioned about English, and I just wanted to really quickly address and apologize. We do plan on having this in French as well. Unfortunately, just things that were out of our control, we had to postpone that one. So just be on the lookout. We will be accommodating to that. So I appreciate everyone's patience on the French side of things. I am trying hard to learn Duolingo and French through that, but it would not go well. So I just wanted to address Mark's comment there. And of course, anyone else who came onto this meeting, which is the English versus the French. So, and then Kanina, I'll pass it back over to you. I think that Mary has the next question.
Yeah, désolé, Mark. We just a brief comment from Leanne. No questions. We just want to thank you for the great seminar, very formative and interesting. Then we have Mary. Yes, Renee, through your experiences, do you have any insight or ideas on how we can increase the number of women in the sport?
It's funny. I was looking at the picture of the first jump I did with those women at Mile High parachuting, and I'm the only one left, unfortunately. And I think, honestly, to help retain women in the sport is to continue to provide support in different venues for women to come in and out of the sport. I mean, some people leave the sport because they're having families, and we had one lady come back at Parachute Ottawa this summer, and she was really nervous about coming back and the drop zone, and we just accommodated, and we made it a really special day and environment for her to feel comfortable coming back, knowing that, we'll be there for her, we'll make it sure it's a safe environment, we'll give her the skills and the tools she needs to start again. And I mean, that's how we retain. We also retain by providing a safe and secure environment, free of harassment, free of negative comments, providing supportive discussions, supportive, even like the POW gives an opportunity for the women just to get together and be open and ask about it. And the more you know each other, the more you get to appreciate each other and support each other. So I think that's important with retention. The Women's Initiative Committee has funding for women in terms of development. So I think once a year you put out specific applications, and women come back and say how they would benefit from funds to be able to develop and stay within the sport. But mostly I think it's a safe, secure environment, it's support for each other, and it's confidence building. And we need to offer that to each other. And I think our male counterparts are getting a lot better at also recognizing that they need to offer that support also. And kudos out to the people that are doing it. Kudos out to the drop zones that are encouraging it and facilitating it. We all have a place in this sport. We all have the ability to progress. And, we do this for fun. We pay to skydive. So let's make it the most enjoyable opportunity we all can. Let's make it a safe learning environment. And let's keep encouraging people to stay, and then let's find a way to bring them back into the sport if they've left and they're ready to come back.
Love it. Great response, Renee. Mary from Skydive Toronto, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Just checking in. Audrey also responded. Also, Renee, did you have an injury in skydiving, and did it affect your career in the sport? And thank you so much for the quality of all of what you shared today so far.
No problem. I didn't. I've been very lucky. I know Jenny and Val had some injuries while we were training, and I think it made them reflect as to whether or not they were able, or should they stay in the sport. They were quite serious. How does it affect you? I mean, injuries happen. It's a sport, it's active, and we deal with them. We try to let the person recuperate. It didn't derail our project. They were able to work through it. We were able to find other means to do what we're doing. Sometimes we'll sub in a coach for a specific camp if somebody is injured and not able to continue, or we'll find a jumper of equal skill, whether it's a male or female, doesn't matter. But they're part of life. They happen, and we try to work through it. It's really hard when you lose a teammate, to be quite honest, because Kanina, as you know, when you start jumping and developing that rapport, that relationship and understanding of how your team performs, where your peace partner is going to be, like it is really difficult to replace somebody. So what you do is honestly stay fit, do warm-ups, as silly as you think it is. Warming up is really important in the sport, no matter what discipline you do. If you can stretch, avoid injuries, stay fit, eat well, then you have a fighting chance to recover when you do have an injury. I'm trying to think. I have injuries, but I just I take the time to heal, and then I carry on. Like ultimately, competition's fun, but I'm important. And I have to I have to live with injuries. So,
yeah.
And so I have to respect myself, and I have to respect my limits. And I have to take care of myself, and I have to make sure my teammates take care of them, and I take care of them as much as possible.
Essentially be okay with the fact that it's happening and adapt and pivot when necessary. Yeah. Would that sort of be the concise?
I think that's a better way of explaining it all, or saying it.
Oh no, that was great. I just like to repeat back so I understand.
Yeah. So what I would say is be very careful with injuries. If you do have a project on the go and somebody is injured, you really need to give that person time to heal before asking them or pushing them or pressuring them back into activity before they're ready.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And again, thanks for the question, additional question, Audrey. I believe we have Allison has a question.
Sure.
I do. Hello, Renee. So I'm kind of wearing my drop zone owner hat here with Skydive Vancouver Island, but we had you out for an amazing skills camp back. Oh my goodness, obviously pre-COVID. And it's still something that's talked about today amongst all of the women that were part of it, even people who weren't part of it and they've just seen it through Women That Fly or anything like that. And so kind of looking at like the stage 7 and active for life, is there any advice you have for like, I know that, I mean, you had a blast and there's learning curves all along the way. Is this something that you could see yourself doing in the future and continue to do? And if so, is there, suggestions for drop zone owners or even just people at the drop zone to like get in touch with you and try to develop these skills camps?
Renee, can you be hired?
Well, I'm on the West Coast, so it's a beautiful place to come. Let me tell you, we had a good time. We did spa stuff and everything. But yeah, just trying to.
It was pretty amazing. I quite enjoy running camps. They're a lot of work because I try to give the best service and I try to understand where everybody's at and make it comfortable for everybody, because people come in and sometimes people don't take camps because they don't feel they're ready or they're comfortable to be on them. I would say let the organizers decide whether you're ready to come on them, and don't hesitate to ask, because we can usually accommodate different levels, and we're more than happy to be able to help somebody develop some skills. As part of my future life, is that something I'd like to continue doing? Yes. I'm also conscious though of the fact that I've been out of the discipline for a while. So I will tell you if I'm comfortable or not doing some of the coaching or some of the things that are asked of me, or if somebody else would be better suited to you. So definitely ask. Like I said, I'm still in the sport. I'm still active. I'm still interested, and uh, I like offering those opportunities because I get a lot back from them, to be quite honest. So yeah, as part of the active life, reach out, like I said, to any member who's competed or in any discipline, and they will likely be more than happy to take on some opportunities to share some activities. And as a drop on zone owner, reach out to any of us, and we'll tell you whether or not we have time, availability, and the interest, and what we can do for you. Because sometimes the installations are limiting, or I remember Allison first asked me, and she's like, "Yeah, do you want to come out and do a cam?" I'm like, "Yes, of course." And then I'm like, "Wait a minute, they only have a Cessna. I don't know how to take a four-way out of a Cessna." And so I had to do some research actually, and I had to call a couple of people, and I'm like, "Hey, can you help me figure out how to put a four-way out of a Cessna?" Once we're in free fall, I'm all good, but getting that thing out of a different aircraft was a bit challenging, but we figured it out. It's definitely a different way of doing things, but I enjoyed it. I liked it, and again, I would encourage everybody who has access to a camp. I know Voltige is putting one on. I think they're calling it Camp A. I just saw it on Facebook. There's lots of resources and places to go. Travel to a different drop zone. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated by going to these different camps. And the best thing is it's a plug and play. We're basically offering everything on a plate. All you got to do is sign up, usually pay a fee, which isn't even the costs because it's being subsidized by one way or another. And you've just got to participate. You've got to bring your best self and just enjoy the experience. So yeah, seek them out, do them, take advantage of them. And to the drop zone owners, like I said, who host them, thank you so much.
Yes, yes, yes. Looking for a general response. How's your availability this season, Renee?
I'm building a house this year. So I'm not,
what does that
I'm not
mean?
sure. I'm not sure what my availability will be. So first and foremost, I obviously work at Parachute Ottawa, so they get the first dibs. And I'm building a house in North Bay, so I'm probably going to be a little bit more present there. So my availability this year will be maybe to be discussed, but next year should be good.
Great, amazing, thank you.
Yeah.
Just taking a little temperature on the group here, immediate group. Any additional questions that we can ask Renee?
Like I said, I mostly talked about four-way today and teams, but there's tons of other disciplines, and there's tons of other athletes to reach out to because there's some specifics that maybe I didn't talk about. Training as an individual is something that, and competing as an individual, something that's completely different.
Yes.
And I think is worthy of discussion and mention also. So this is not a complete representation of everybody's journey. It's just my representation of my journey, and like I said, things I've learned along the way. And I don't know, like as much as I could share with you, that is hopefully helpful.
It's a beautiful insight. Thank you. Well, I'm going to take it as right now there are no additional questions, but before we close off the session, we want to give you all an update of the various opportunities that CSPA has this season. And next, for those of us who are interested in competition, upcoming, we have World Skydiving Day, July 13th. So this is a reminder that World Skydiving Day is happening July 13th. You can participate anywhere in Canada and register to be part of the world record, whether through your member, the drop zone, or on your own. Because CSPA is partnering with the United States Parachute Association, British Skydiving, and the Australia Parachute Federation to launch a global day to participate in skydiving. We're beyond excited to announce that the inaugural World Skydiving Day will happen on July 13th. And for further information, there's a link to the World Skydiving website located within the Learn tab of the CSPA website. So take a gander there if you need to go. Next event to mention, the Canadian Virtual National Parachuting Competition is starting in less than 2 weeks. Stay tuned for the release of more information, including the competition draws. Anyone with a solo certificate can compete. There are multiple disciplines you can try, regardless of your experience level. Get your feet in the water, pure people. Every day we have more drop zones joining to participate, but you can still compete anywhere, regardless of the drop zone being listed as a participating center. Again, more information will be coming. Watch the website, watch the CSPA Facebook page for more and further details as we continue on. Next up, and then for this season, stay tuned. We are partnering with iFly Montreal and Calgary to run 2 four-way FS skills camps that will be coached by former team members. We have not led these camps since prior to the pandemic, so we are eager to get started. Athlete development funding is going to be announced soon. Stay tuned to CSPA announcements for more information on applications, deadlines, and parameters. Great potential subsidy funding source for any competition group. And lastly, Canadian Nationals will happen again in 2025, and we know lots of teams are already in training. C'est moi aussi, me as well. So to close off our session, just to keep us going with the whole competitive feel, last Inspire conference, we had released a video to help us inspire us with women in sport. And we'd just like to take another moment again to let's review that one more time, because it was so darn good and it deserves another opportunity to be seen. So Allison, if I could ask you to grace us with that amazing video, that'd be great. I love that so much. I hope you do too. That video was produced and edited by our Canadian Quebec skydiver, Catherine Grenier. She used to be on the WIC committee, but still is available for assistance. And all those videos were compiled by WIC members throughout the sport. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that as much as we love it. Renee, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time today, your expertise, your insights, your thoughts, all of the sharing you have done. Greatly appreciate it. Everyone who's in attendance, thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing your interest. We do appreciate you and your time. We ask that if everyone could take a brief moment to provide your feedback on today's seminar. You can scan the QR code just on your screen right now, and then supply that feedback. Your feedback does help the WIC team to further develop Inspire seminars and conferences. Should you have not felt comfortable asking a question during this session, or you find that you have additional questions after this session, please do direct them to our Women's Initiative Committee, either via to Allison directly or to the allwic@cspa.ca address. We'd love to hear from you. Again, that's allwic@cspa.ca for any questions, comments, concerns from this seminar, or even additionally to see some equity in our sport. Thank you all so much for attending. That concludes our seminar event. Yay!
Thank you for having me. We'll see you all this season. Take care, everybody.
I sure hope so. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you so much.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
So exciting.
I could probably
Do you want
unmute.
me
Let's see if if anyone wants to
say something?
Yeah, why can't I find it? There you go. If anyone wants to get unmuted, I've just asked you can, so that we can have a general conversation. I am going to stop the recording right now, though. Thank you again, everybody.
Hey, thanks.